What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, let's be honest, I've said this enough times. We cover wrestling content. AEW, WWE, TNA for certain. Still trying to figure out whether we want to do Ring of Honor or New Japan. Or if we might just want to go ahead and leave it at the three that we've been covering. Might just end up doing that instead. But on to what today's episode is. It is going to be about the March 14th Tna Sacrifice that happened this past Friday. So, let's see. The pre-show, we had the Aztec Warriors versus First Class. It was... Damn. I'm going to be honest. Also, she's tired as fuck, so chances are I'm going to do most of the talking. But the Aztec Warriors versus First Class, nothing against the Aztec Warriors, but First Class... like, y'all ain't shit. Francis, you weren't shit in WWE. You ain't shit now. The other guy just looks like he's trying to rip off fucking Lil Pump's look. It wasn't that great a match. From what I saw, the Aztec Warriors, they did their best. And their part was pretty good. But you can only make a match look so good if the people you're fighting don't have the skill. And despite the fact that First Class won, it wasn't that great of a match. So, whatever. After that match, you had a backstage interview with Ariana. Tessa Blanchard walks up during that interview. I'm trying to remember what the hell was actually said in that.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I really don't remember. Again, another spot that wasn't that memorable, so on to the next. There was another backstage promo from the System and the Colognes ahead of their 10-man steel cage match. Obviously, they were talking about how they're going to go in there, they're going to beat the shit out of the other guys, this, that, the third, whatever. Then they come out to the ring area where everybody's at. And Nick Nemeth comes out to let everybody know that... Ryan. Or not Nick Nemeth. Ryan Nemeth came out to let everybody know that my big brother returns tonight at Sacrifice. Whatever, dude. Shut the fuck up. Annoying little prick. Then you see Callahan and Warner backstage just beating the shit out of each other. That ends up spilling out into the arena area. So they go ahead and just say, fuck it. You guys have this street fight that you're supposed to have later. We're just going to go ahead and start it. Mind you, this was like 2 minutes before the actual Sacrifice pay-per-view started. Because this is all during the pre-show. So, you know, the refs come out there. They end up actually having their street fight match. Warner ends up taking the win thanks to Steph DeLander throwing, looked like baby powder, to be honest. Looked like baby powder into Callahan's face, causing a distraction. Warner hits his finisher, like the knee, and gets the pin on Callahan. It was a pretty good match. but at the same time, it also felt like it lacked some of the extreme, even though there was nothing in there that wasn't extreme. Kind of hard to vocalize what I'm trying to say. Like, it was a good match, but it also felt lackluster, even though there was steel chairs, there was trash can lids, stapler fight. Literally, these two took the fucking staple guns and started stapling the shit out of each other. So there was a lot of moments in it that was good, but I think what killed it for me was how it ended. Mm-hmm. Like, Callahan had Warner against the ropes. Kind of how when Rey Mysterio goes to do the 619, his opponent is leaned against the ropes. That's how Warner was placed. And Callahan was trying to drive a screwdriver into the top of Warner's head when Steph DeLander threw the powder into his face. And it was just like, for something that was so good, for it to end that way, killed it for me. But because of that, I don't think that they're going to finish that rivalry yet. So hopefully there's more to that and we have a more fair finish to that rivalry. After that, we had the actual beginning of Sacrifice, and they kicked that off with the Rascals and Ace Austin versus Wesley, Tyson DuPont, and Tariq, whatever the fuck his name.
No. You skipped the very first match, which was Tessa Blanchard.
Yes, I did. I absolutely just read over a match that I did not give two fucks about.
Tessa won that one. Yep. He just skipped over that one completely.
It was not that great of a match.
No,
to be perfectly honest.
There was a lot of controversy around Tessa Blanchard because she has had her issues with being...
Some racial comments that were apparently said by her to certain people. So when she came out with the whole Latina attitude thing...
The Latina or the Mexican flag looking gear.
Yeah, and
hair...
looking like a whole ass cholo, honestly.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of people who had issues with that, but that's beside the point. As far as the actual match itself goes, it wasn't that good.
It was subpar.
Well, that's subpar. That's suboptimal. It was... Never been a fan of Blanchard. Never been a fan of Lee. Even when Lee was in WWE as Xia Li. It never could get over on me. So, not that great of a match. But, back to what I was saying. The Rascals and Ace Austin versus Wesley and his cohorts. Mid pre-show, they did change the match stipulation to lucha rules, which essentially, from what I gather, the only difference between a regular tag team match and a lucha rules tag team match is you don't actually have to tag your partner. You can roll out of the ring and somebody else will take over. Granted, with that being said, they were still tagging each other in and out the whole fucking match anyways. But that match actually was a pretty good match because you've got the Rascals and Ace Austin and Wesley are all high flyers. Mm-hmm. So, and I've said it before, when you get high flyers facing each other or luchadors facing each other, you end up with a lot of good moments. So there was a lot of points where, you know, you've got a whole bunch of people doing the flippity-dippity stuff, making it impressive. In the end, the Rascals and Ace Austin got the win, which you could see from the Rascals, like, it hurt them to pretty much take Wesley out back and Old Yeller his ass. But, hey, he turned on y'all first, so... For me, personally, with my own experience of people turning their back on me, hey, fuck it. we brawling. But for them, that was like a brother to them for...
A long time.
A long fucking time. So, you could see the emotion on their face, because, what's his name?
Trey Miguel.
Not Miguel. The other one.
Zachary.
He even, after the match was over, he kind of grabbed Wesley's head, and you couldn't hear what he said, but you could see he said something, gave him a kiss on the head, and, like, Ace Austin went to help Miguel up, and Miguel kind of pulled away from him, threw his little bandana on the ground, and you could see he was, like, tearing up and shit like that. Not that he pulled away from Ace Austin in an angle for a rivalry up in later weeks or anything, but just that emotion getting to him about having to, like I said, Old Yeller, an old friend. Yeah. So it was a good match, and then that touch of emotion coming out at the end of it kind of really, that small detail helped in what I would consider like some of the shit that you need to pay attention to, you know. It was definitely a good match though, nonetheless. The next match to come on was Steve Maclin versus Frankie Kazarian. Prior to them coming out though, Eric Young came out to sit at the announcer's table and be a commentator during this match. Because Eric Young has been trying to get Maclin to join the Southern Armory. So, you know, he's obviously going to keep a close eye on this match. Steve Maclin did get the win, but honestly, it's kind of a tainted victory. It was kind of a tainted victory, though, because Kazarian went to the little call your shot cup trophy thing that he's got, pulled out some brass knuckles. Eric cut him off, grabbed the knuckles from Kazarian and was like, no, you're not going to try and do this, like, whatever. The ref is distracted at this point, helping Maclin, and when Kazarian's like, fuck it, and tries to go back in the ring, that's when Eric hits him with the brass knuckles in the back of the head, throws Kazarian back into the ring. Maclin hits Kazarian with his finisher, gets the pin, but Maclin didn't see anything that happened between Eric and Frankie outside the ring. So he's like, all right, cool, I got the win. So I'm expecting come next week, either Kazarian's going to call Maclin out on the bullshit, and Macklin's gonna be like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, realize what he's talking about, and then go address Eric, or he's going to they're gonna push that whole first part out, and Maclin will confront Eric, because he'll see a recap at some point over the next week and be like, bro, what the fuck is this? Told you I didn't need your help. I don't want your help. I want to do this shit on my own, and you come interfere in my match. So, regardless, I do see that happening in next week, or if they don't do it next week, the week after that. Let's see. What did we have after that match? Oh, God. Please take that match for me, because that match gave me a fucking headache.
So, neither of us really cared for this match.
Excuse me while I go bash my head into a fucking wall. This match hurt so bad.
It was Ash and Heather by Elegance and their personal concierge versus Spitfire for the tag titles. The women's tag titles.
Knockouts.
Yeah.
Women's knockouts, yeah, I know, same thing.
Yeah. Somehow Ash, Heather, and the concierge won. So there's new tag champs. And then Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson arrived. So we're pretty sure there's going to be a match between Ash and Heather versus Lash and Jakara for the Knockouts tag titles at some point.
Which low-key is even a worse match than Elegance versus Spitfire. God, I hate it here. Ah!
That match was just so bad.
I can't tell you anything that happened.
No.
Pretty sure I fell asleep watching that match.
More than likely. And then we had
It was so
Mustafa
stupid.
Ali versus Mike Santana. Mustafa won by cheating. His usual go-to.
Okay. Ooh, big fucking surprise there, right? So, okay, after that, you had the Masha Slamovich versus Cora Jade for the TNA Knockouts Championship. Pretty decent match. Unfortunately, my girl didn't win. Masha retained, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm here. I can give you a hug if you want a hug. I feel like she'd actually just probably punch me in the face instead. Mm-hmm. But I'm okay with that. That was a pretty decent match, though. Would have been better if my girl won. But still, pretty decent match. After that, you had Moose versus Jeff Hardy in the ladder match for the X Division title. Moose did retain that. But that was a pretty great match, actually. Mm-hmm. There was one point where you had this almost, I want to say it's like the 20-foot ladder set up in the middle, and Moose puts a ladder on the turnbuckle and the one of the rungs of the ladder, kind of setting up like a bridge. And he ended up slamming Jeff through that ladder, but when he did that, it actually broke the rung of the ladder, so that whole fucking ladder that was creating the bridge ended up falling down. Which, when Moose set it up, I noticed that rung was bent, so I was pretty sure that one was going to break as soon as there was a slam or more weight added to it. So thank God it was meant for a slam and not somebody to walk across, because that could have ended up in an injury. What's her name?
Alicia?
Yes. Alicia gets involved, hits Jeff with the kendo stick while Jeff was trying to go up to grab the title. Jeff hits a twist of fate on her, which takes her out of
the equation.
The equation, that's the word, thank you.
But with the distraction, Moose hit Jeff with a spear through the table and was able to climb up the ladder and retain.
I want to say there was 2 table spots in that match. Even though it was just a ladder match, he still had, a mix of other items in there. It was, overall, it was a good match, though. Mm-hmm. Fucking bitch getting involved, though.
Oh, yeah, she always gets involved.
Granted, something that was pointed out about I don't want to say the irony of this match, but pretty much, Jeff, 20 years ago when he first debuted into TNA, his debut match was against AJ Styles for the X Division Championship, which he won that night. So here you go, 20 years later, him going for the X Division Championship again. It's kind of a nice little tidbit of information that was put out there while they were coming out for that match. After that match, you have Mike Santana, a backstage segment where Mike Santana finds Santino to try to convince him to have a rematch against Mustafa Ali. with the team being banned from the ringside this coming Thursday. Santino is in full agreement because even he's sick and tired of fucking Ali's bullshit. So we're looking forward to that come this Thursday. They announced that Chavo Guerrero Jr. will be on this Thursday night's Impact or TNA show. And then the main event. The System and the Colognes versus Elijah, Leon Slater, Matt Hardy, Nick Nemeth, and Joe Hendry in a steel cage match. So the rules with the steel cage match was basically you've got one person from each team who starts the match off. And then after 2 minutes, the next person comes out. After that, every
1 minute.
Every 60 seconds later, the next person comes out until all 10 competitors are in the ring, and then they lock the cage. Kind of like War Games, except they did this all in one ring versus a double ring next to each other. So, despite my concern about it being in one ring, it wasn't as clusterfucked or crowded as I was expecting. So that you could still clearly tell, okay, these two are having a moment, these two are having a moment, you know. So the two people who started it was Eddie Edwards and Elijah, which Eddie Edwards is the one who actually won the match this past Thursday against Leon Slater to get the advantage. The advantage being that his team will have the first person to come join in after the first two start the match, which kind of ends up being a 2-on-1, then a 2-on-2, 3-on-2, 4-on-3, 5-on-4, and then finally all 10 of them. So Eddie Edwards and Elijah started off. Edwards comes out, gets in the ring, and then Elijah's music hits. And this motherfucker literally came out with his guitar riding a fucking horse to the goddamn ring. Or at least close enough. I know. But still, this motherfucker really just decided, I'm gonna ride a horse. Tay the horse. Yeah. But those two started off. Brian Myers is the next person to come out. Then Nick Nemeth. Then Orlando Colon. Leon Slater. Eddie Colon. Matt Hardy. JDC. And then
TNA World Champ Joe Hendry.
So at that point, the match officially started. They locked the cage. Ryan Nemeth ended up coming out at one point to cheer on his big brother, you know. And then Joe Hendry's team ends up catching the win, which, all right, cool for them. The System and the Colognes get out.
They celebrate for a little bit.
They celebrate for a minute. Joe Hendry leaves. Leon Slater leaves. Elijah leaves, which just left Nick Nemeth and Matt Hardy in the ring. Ryan Nemeth comes in, locks the door, and Nick Nemeth attacks Matt Hardy, and then it ends up pretty much being a 2-on-1 between the Nemeth brothers and Matt Hardy as they're beating the holy hell out of them. The other guys on the team tried to get in, but, you know, doors locked, so they tried to climb, but Ryan Nemeth took the steel chair that was sitting in there that JDC brought in during the match. I forgot to mention that, but whatever. So he's taking the chair and kind of hitting the cage as everybody's trying to run up, which, you know, is your grabbing on. He's hitting the chair against the cage where your fingers are, causing you not to be able to keep climbing. So definitely expecting more about that come Thursday. But that's it. What would you rate the pay-per-view as a whole?
Give it a 7.
More gracious than I am. I was gonna give it a fucking 5.
Well, there were some decent moments, even if there were some matches we didn't like.
See, that's my thing. Like, the steel cage match, great match. The ladder match, great match. Slimovich versus Jade was a good match. We saw Ali and Santana. That was a good match. Elegance and Spitfire, I could have done without ever having to watch that fucking match. Ever. The Macklin and Kazarian match, it was a decent match. Mm-hmm. The Rascals and Ace Austin versus Wesley and his people, that was a good match. Tessa Blanchard and Lee, didn't care. The Warner and Callahan match, it had good promise. It started out good and then went to shit at the end. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you had 2 matches that I personally did not give 2 fucks about, heavily drops my rating.
Yeah.
You had 2 matches that offset that, though. So that brings it to a 5, and then the other ones kind of just stayed baseline, for me at least. Mm-hmm. Again, this is her perspective, my perspective. This isn't any official ratings that go on any actual, like, legit things. But for me, personally, it could have been a lot better. Yeah. So I'm giving it a 5. You gave it a 7. So our average rating, a 6. Wait, did I skip a match? Mm-mm. Oh, no, that's all that was. Okay. That was your notes from TNA, not the pay-per-view, but the actual show this past Thursday. Okay. But yeah. I struggled watching a good bit of it. The last 2 matches were probably the best ones. Yeah. And I say this time and time again. It's not because it was a ladder match or because it was a steel cage match. I got to look at who's the competitors are, what their skill level is, you know. Don't get me wrong, stipulations does kind of have a factor in it, you know, because who's going to put on a general basis, who's going to put just a basic one-on-one match above a ladder match or a TLC match or a street fight, you know? 9 times out of 10, those matches with stipulations allow them to be more creative, which means that it would tend to end up being better because you have bigger spots, you have, admittedly, it's more violent. And we don't watch fucking pro wrestling for fucking ballet type shit, okay? I say that knowing that damn well the luchadors and the high flyers are on some ballet shit sometimes. But I'm a great debater. I can be on like either side of the fucking conversation because I contradict the fuck out of myself all the time. Yep. Point being, though, 9 times out of 10, a one-on-one does not get as high of a grade as something that has a stipulation, is my fucking point. So while it seems like all I care about are the only ones that's going to get a good rating are the matches that have stipulations, it's not always about that. Because let's just say, for example purposes, you put Edge Cope and Randy Orton in a one-on-one, no stipulation. But then you've got a ladder match between Tozawa and R-Truth. Which match do you think is going to get the better draw or the better rating at the end of the day? It's going to be Cope and Orton. Mm-hmm. You know, not taking away from Tozawa or R-Truth, but it's Edge and fucking Randy. Like, it all really has a lot to do with their experience and what they bring to the table at the end of the day. But with stipulations, it does allow them to have more freedom and more creativity. Mm-hmm. But moving right along, that was our Sacrifice recap. You know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when we upload. I've got, well, technically today off. So I'm going to try and work on that damn gag reel. Still, fucking burps. Still working on that fucking bitch. Gonna try and get that up on the TikTok. That way we can actually get some shit going on that damn thing instead of the one video that we have. Mm-hmm. Share it to your wrestling buddies or any coworkers that you know. If somehow you aren't into wrestling and see this video and somehow decided to sit through the 32 minutes that it's been so far to hear this point, share it to your coworkers, share it to your buddies, share it to your family, share it. You feel me? You feel me? You feel me, Oos? Obviously, the comment spiel that we always give. We love the interaction. On that note, though, love you guys, and we will see you next weekend.